we get letters. Hey, Ron Spomer Outdoors gets letters, and we try to answer them. But I got to thinking, why should I just write one gentleman and answer his question when there may be 10 or 10,000 others who would like the same answer to the same question? So we started putting these up on ronspomeroutdoors.com where you can read them. But then my wife said, hey, some people would rather just listen and watch. They don't want to sit there and read all this stuff. So let's put some of them on air. So we're going to try this. If you guys want more, we'll do more. If you want me to shut up, we can do that too. So I got a letter from a gentleman recently who asked a pretty simple question, but it was stated in a way that kind of confused me. He says, hey, Ron, can I use a 243 tip to recharge the 6mm Remington? Well, a little colloquialism here. Different folks in different parts of the country call different parts of cartridges different things. And it took me a bit of a head scratch here and thinking a tip must mean bullet and recharging must mean reloading 6mm Remington. So he wants to know if he can use 243 bullets to load his 6mm Remington. And of course the answer is yes, because all 6mm cartridges take .243 inch diameter bullets. One's the imperial measurement system and one's the metric. That's all it amounts to. So look at your boxes. Most of them will say 243 and 6mm. Some will only say 243. Some will say only 6mm. I like the Sierra box. It gives you both of them in the same line. Nice and obvious. So yeah, go ahead, get your hand loading data. Those are the bullet sizes to use for all your 6mm. All of them. All right. Now, our next question is about bullets, but not hand loading bullets. It's terminal performance. This gentleman said, hey, Ron, I don't know if you've already covered this subject, but I'd like to see you do a test of the terminal performance of Berger bullets versus controlled expansion bullets. Now, this is a tough one. Terminal performance generally requires a game animal, and I didn't get any volunteers, especially not here in the summer. But yeah, we could use newspapers and wax tubes and ballistic gel and all sorts of things, which are good for comparisons. But, you know, nothing we can test against is ever exactly the same as an animal. And neither are the same animals again and again. They're standing slightly differently. You hit them in a different place. There's just no absolute test that's repeatable. But we can get some general ideas, and I think that's what this gentleman is looking for. So he continues, as you probably know, Berger states that their bullets are designed to fragment after penetrating into the body cavity, thereby releasing all of their energy in the vital organs. And that's true. They do advertise that. They claim the bullet will generally enter 2 to 3 inches and then pretty much fragment into pieces like a varmint bullet. And that could be pretty deadly. So this guy says, my experience with Bergers has been less than optimal. Uh-oh. I found that if you have anything other than a clean broadside shot, the Berger bullets fragment too early and do not penetrate the body cavity and only wound the animal. That doesn't sound good. I've had this experience with animals as small as antelope using a 243 and a 95 grain bullet, all the way up to a 250-pound whitetail shot with a 300 Winchester Magnum at 400 yards. In the latter case, the deer presented a quartering toward me shot. So that would be on the shoulder like this. The shot was placed on the point of the shoulder so as to pass diagonally through the body cavity. The bullet hit the shoulder and deflected across the neck, exiting at the base of the neck on the other side. Never penetrated the body cavity. Not good. Luckily, it cut the carotid artery and killed the animal, at which a lot of my friends would say, well, why are you griping? You've got a dead animal. What part of the bullet didn't work? But obviously, it's not what he was expecting, and the bullet didn't follow the line that he wanted, so he's got a legitimate complaint here. And now, have you heard, Ron, of any other complaints similar to mine? If so, I would like to hear about them and see a terminal performance test of Berger versus other bullets. I did not deny that Bergers are accurate bullets, but I wonder that, due to their match bullet heritage, if they just don't hold up as they should. So lastly, because of my experience with Bergers, I've switched to a controlled expansion hunting bullet, Hornady ELD-X, and have thus far had good results. Well, before we go trashing Berger bullets, we really need to recognize that every bullet gets trashed by somebody. I mean, there are fans of one brand over all others, and they're absolutely convinced it's the best, and vice versa. So what's going on? Well, first thing I would note is that the Hornady ELDX, to my knowledge, is not a controlled expansion bullet. Controlled expansion bullets are usually bonded, meaning the lead core is molecularly bonded to the jacket so they can't break apart physically. They can get ripped and torn, but they can't break apart. And then there are the partition styles where the mechanical connection locks some of the lead inside of the case or the jacket of the bullet. But to my knowledge, Hornady is just another cup and core bullet. I may be wrong. I know they have the interlock bullet, and that has a bit of a mechanical lock to it, and they have an interbond bullet that I've had some great luck with, and that's a bonded bullet. But I don't think the ELDX bullet is anything but a cup and a core. And we call those cup and core bullets, and they're pretty common. Here's how they're made. They take a flat disc of gilding metal or copper, whatever the jacket material is, and then they punch draw it into a long cup shape. And then they take a cable of lead, and it can be pure lead, which is really soft and breaks easily, or they can harden that lead and to various degrees to make a harder bullet. They shove that cable inside the bullet, and then they squeeze it into shape, swage it, they call it. Here's a Berger, and really all we see is the gilding metal jacket and the sleek shape of it, but you don't see how it's put together. Well, it's just that jacket with the lead inside, and then it is squeezed to that fine tip. And what Berger does is they specialize in long ogive tips. They might be a secant ogive or a tangent or a hybrid of the two. They really work with that beautifully to make bullets that resist wind drag. And they have high ballistics coefficients. These bullets are made to perform optimally en route to the target, not necessarily when they get there. Although they are doing what, obviously, Berger wants them to do because that's where they're building them. They want that bullet to get there, get in the target, and do a lot of damage inside the thoracic cavity. And that's generally what they do. And I would imagine the folks who hunt with them and have great success find that's what happens. I've not used them a lot on game. I took a mule deer once with one, and it went behind the shoulder and did a lot of damage. But I haven't used them a lot since because I'm not real crazy about exploding pieces of lead in my game anymore. I know people are thinking this is some kind of an anti-hunting plot or something. I'm not saying you shouldn't use lead core bullets. Personally, I still use some, but boy, every time I see those fragments of lead in there and I think about my grandkids eating the hamburger I'm making, a little bit less inclined to do that. So, because of my job, what I've done over the years, I have to sample and try all bullets, and I generally have done that. And I've had good luck with all of them within the parameters of what they'll do. And I think this is the critical point, is we all need to understand what's inside of those things. Is this ELDX really a controlled expansion bullet? How do you find out? Well, you can ask the company, and they should tell you, and I can't imagine that Hornady would lie and say it is when it isn't. But I have gotten no information from Hornady that says Hornady. I'm always saying Hornady, guys, but you got to forgive me. I told you about the colloquialisms at the start of this. I have no indication that that bullet is anything other than the cup and core. There's no bonding in there. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I am, but I don't think it's bonded, and I know there aren't any mechanical links or anything in there. Like a Nosler partition has the wall. The Swift A-frame has a wall. There's some bullets that have bonded shanks or bonded lead noses. Otherwise, they're all copper. And there's just all sorts of combinations out there. And if you want to see what some of these look like, I did a video quite a while back about bullets and how they're constructed. And I cut them apart. So we'll put the address here. It's a YouTube video. The sound is pretty bad on it, but the information I think is pretty solid. What I did was I took every kind of a bullet that I could come up with, and I sliced them vertically so that you can look at the construction. You can see how thick the jacket is, how it might taper, how it might have two kinds of lead in, because a harder lead will be a different shade of gray than the softer lead, and you can see that. You'll see the walls inside if they have any, and it's really informative to see these bullets cut apart. And then I've tried, most of the time I've been able to come up with an expanded bullet that's hit an animal, terminal expansion. So you can see how much it mushroomed or if it broke apart and all that stuff. So it's really an eye-opener. You want to check that out and you'll learn a lot about bullets. And then the thing to know is that when you select your bullets, whether they're controlled expansion in one way or another, or designed to break up, you need to match that with the rifle you're shooting, the velocity you expect for that bullet, and then the distance at which you're going to be taking your game. Because at long ranges, all your bullets are slowing down, and suddenly a pretty soft bullet is starting to act a lot harder because it doesn't have as much energy when it gets there. So there's less energy to break it apart. I would imagine at some distance, even one of these Berger bullets designed to break apart is probably not going to break apart. Then again, you can get some pretty tough bullets at close range and hit major muscle mass and some big bones, and it could break them apart. I've had Barnes bullets come out with only one petal remaining because they got sheared off against some pretty heavy bone on some pretty heavy African animals. So most anything can happen out there, but understanding bullets and velocities is the key. So to this gentleman, I would say I am probably not going to be doing any terminal research comparing that bullet with others other than what I've done while hunting over the years. And most of that is in the video I'm referencing right here. So check it out, guys. Get to know your bullets. We spend way too much time doting on cartridges and rifles, and those are launch pads. It's the bullet that's doing all the work. We really need to know bullets. That's what's taking our animal. So yeah, it's important to know that the rifle's going to be accurate and the cartridge is going to be pushing the bullet at the velocity we need and all the rest of it. But by golly, it's the bullet and where you park it that really matters. So until next time, this is Ron Spomer. Hunt honest and shoot straight.